You keep trying to hold it together, you pray, you hope, and you give them the benefit of the doubt. You fight for the relationship, even when your soul feels like it's quietly breaking inside. You keep whispering to yourself, maybe this is just a trial. Maybe Allah will fix it. Maybe I just need to hold on a little longer. But there's a question sitting deep in your chest that you haven't had the courage to ask. What if this isn't a test of patience? What if it's actually Allah trying to wake you up? What if the connection you're clinging to, no matter how strong the emotions, was never meant for you in the first place? Because here's the reality. Not every bond is a blessing. Some people enter your life to teach you, some arrive as distractions, and others are simply divine protection in disguise, keeping you from a heartbreak that hasn't happened yet. So, how can you tell the difference? How do you recognize when the relationship you're in isn't a sacred test to endure, but a clear signal from Allah that it's time to walk away? In this video, we're going to explore 4 powerful signs that the relationship you're fighting to preserve might be the very one Allah is trying to take away for your own healing, your own future, and your own return to peace. And once these signs become clear to you, you'll stop wondering, why isn't this working? And start asking, what is Allah trying to protect me from? Sign 1. You're slowly compromising your core values, but you keep calling it love. You used to stand firm. You had boundaries. You once promised yourself, I will never fall into haram. I'll never entertain private conversations before marriage. I'll never lower my standards, no matter how tempting it gets. But then someone came along, and slowly, your lines started to blur. First, it was casual DMS. We were just talking. Then it turned into late night chats that left you feeling uneasy. Then it became deleting conversations, hiding things from your family, and justifying actions you once would have called out in others. You kept telling yourself, it's okay, I have pure intentions. But ask yourself, if this relationship is truly from Allah, then why are you slowly becoming someone you don't recognize anymore? Why are your prayers inconsistent? Why are you making excuses for sins you used to stay far from? Why are you carrying guilt, but calling it emotional growth? Real love, love that Allah blesses, does not require you to dilute your values to keep someone close. It doesn't pressure you to sin in the name of romance. Our beloved Prophet taught us, modesty is a branch of faith. Yet now, you're keeping secrets, ignoring your intuition, and silencing the very voice inside that used to protect your heart. And here's the truth. When you repeatedly cross the very limits that once kept you grounded, Allah might be removing that person, not to hurt you, but to bring you back to the version of yourself that you were proud of. Sign 2. Your heart feels constantly unsettled, and you're begging Allah for clarity. There's an unspoken pain many experience in private, a kind of emotional roller coaster where one day you feel hopeful, and the next completely shattered. You're always wondering, do they even care about me? Are they serious? Why do they keep pulling away? And instead of stability, the relationship brings emotional turbulence. You're checking your phone more than your Quran. Your mood changes with their replies. You cry yourself to sleep, asking Allah for a sign. Any sign? But the only thing that keeps arriving is more confusion. Here's a powerful truth. When something is truly written for you by Allah, even if there are tests or delays, it brings sukoon, tranquility. Even through hardship, there's a divine ease. You're not chasing a validation, you're being gently guided. But when you find yourself mentally exhausted, emotionally drained, and spiritually distant, it's time to pause and reflect. Allah says in Surah Ar-Rum 30:21, and among his signs is that he created for you from yourselves spouses. that you may find tranquility in them. Any place between you, affection and mercy. Notice what Allah doesn't say. He doesn't say love is built on emotional confusion, secrecy, or anxiety. True love, the one that comes with His blessing, comes with peace. So if the relationship you're in feels like a never-ending cycle of overthinking, if you're begging for consistency, losing sleep over mixed signals, ask yourself this: would Allah truly send someone into your life only to have them slowly break you apart while you call it love? Because a relationship that's meant for you will come with emotional growth, yes, but never emotional destruction. Sign 3. You feel deeply attached, but there's no nikah, no commitment, and no clear direction. Let's be real. Many people convince themselves that a connection is divine just because it feels intense. We finish each other's sentences. No one understands me like they do. This can't be a coincidence. But here's the problem. Not every intense emotion is a spiritual sign. Sometimes it's the emotional high of a bond that lacks structure. A relationship that feels overwhelming but offers no clarity. You feel drawn to them, but drawn away from your prayers. You share long conversations, but never talk about marriage. You're connected emotionally, but spiritually drifting apart from your Creator. And that kind of connection is not sacred, it's seductive. The Prophet Muhammad warned us, whenever a man is alone with a woman, the Shaytaan is the third among them. Now think, if the most powerful emotional connection in your life right now is with someone you aren't even halal for, someone you have to hide, someone you wouldn't want your future spouse to know about, is that connection truly from Allah? Because what's from Him doesn't grow in secret. It grows in purpose, in intention, in halal. Shaitan's job is to take something tempting and make it feel like destiny. But love that Allah blesses will never ask you to sacrifice your soul for chemistry. Sign 4. You're the only one trying, and the effort is one-sided. You text first. You forgive first. You try to keep the peace, even when you're the one hurting. You lower your needs just to meet theirs. And over time, you start to wonder, if this is mutual love, why am I the only one carrying it? A relationship that is meant to flourish will require effort from both sides. You won't feel like a beggar at the gates of affection. Allah created relationships to be a source of comfort, not stress. A partnership, not a project. And sometimes, holding on too tightly to what's breaking you isn't a sign of strength. It's a sign that you've forgotten your own worth. So pause, reflect, ask not, why won't they change? But what am I sacrificing in the name of staying? Because when you stop trying to force what's not meant to be, you'll finally make space for what's written just for you. And remember this: what Allah removes from your life is always replaced with something better, but only if you have the courage to let go. So if you've been fighting for a relationship that keeps tearing you apart, know that it's not because Allah wants to punish you. It might be that He's trying to save you from a heartbreak you can't yet see, from a path that was never meant for you, and from becoming someone you were never meant to be. Real love, the kind Allah writes in the stars, won't come with confusion. It will come with peace. And when it does, you won't have to chase it. You'll simply be ready for it. He dresses up the relationship with sweet emotions, wrapping it in words that sound so spiritual. He whispers to your heart in ways that confuse desire with divine intention. Suddenly, what once felt clearly wrong starts to feel like a sacred bond. You hear yourself say, I really think Allah sent them into my life for a reason. And maybe that's true. But what if that reason isn't to fall in love with them? What if it's to learn to let go of them? Because not everyone who enters your heart is meant to stay. Some people are sent as a wake up call, not a lifelong partner. Some enter your life not to be your forever, but to be your reminder, your test, your turning point. So if you're investing all your emotions in a connection that has no direction, no commitment, no plan for nikah, then don't be shocked when it collapses without baraka. Why? Because when Allah tests your heart, it's never to break it, it's always to cleanse it. He doesn't rip things away to punish you. He removes what blocks your path back to Him. You keep calling it love, but deep down, you're the only one making sacrifices. Let's be honest. There are people out there right now, maybe even you, who are giving their entire heart day after day. You're giving your time, your loyalty, your attention, your trust, and sometimes even your dignity just to keep someone in your life who gives you nothing close in return. You wait for them, you pray for them, you forgive them. Again and again, you tell yourself, this is what love requires. This is what patience means. But here's the truth you're avoiding. Love, real love, doesn't mean destroying yourself so someone else can feel whole. Islam never asks you to sacrifice your self-worth in the name of loyalty. Patience doesn't mean tolerating emotional damage while calling it saber. It doesn't mean staying silent in a relationship that is slowly peeling away your value bit by bit. It especially doesn't mean waiting endlessly for someone who treats you like an afterthought. Someone who only shows up when it's convenient, who disappears without notice, who makes you question your worth more than they reassure it. The Prophet Muhammad, the most honorable man to ever walk this earth, never belittled his wives. He didn't ignore them. He didn't mock them. He didn't make them feel invisible or insignificant. His love was full of respect, peace, and honor. So if you're stuck in a cycle where you're ignored, strung along, made to beg for attention, ask yourself this. Is this truly love, or is this emotional survival disguised as devotion? Now let's make one thing clear. Love isn't haram. It was created by Allah, and He placed it between spouses as a beautiful mercy. In Surah Ar-Rum, Allah describes real love using the words affection and mercy. That's divine love. Love that uplifts you and brings you closer to Him. But what we see today in schools, universities, and even among those who wear the appearance of religious identity is not that love. It's a distorted version. It's lust wrapped in sweet talk. It's validation addiction dressed as deep connection. It's late night texts that feel spiritual but only lead to spiritual damage. It's emotional entanglements without responsibility, feelings without structure, and desire without destination. And Shaytaan is clever. He whispers, "You're just talking. Nothing haram yet." But one day, you look back and realize you've already lost so much of your soul, your peace, your focus, your connection with Allah, and you didn't even notice it slipping. We are in a time where haram love is glorified, where girls are told if he fights with you the most, that means he loves you the most, where boys are taught that the more control they have over her emotions, the more she'll stay. But love in Islam doesn't work like that. Real love in this deen is quiet, it's clean, it's protective, respectful, and purposeful. If someone truly sees you as a gift from Allah, they won't play with your heart. They'll guard it. They'll protect your dignity. They'll take steps toward nikah, not toward fitna. So if you're in a relationship that constantly leaves you anxious, where you're always the one initiating, always the one sacrificing, always the one feeling spiritually empty, then ask yourself, would Allah place someone in my life who draws me away from Him instead of closer? Because sometimes the most powerful sign that Allah is protecting you is when the pain of holding on becomes heavier than the fear of letting go. My beloved brothers and sisters, we all stumble, we all feel, we all form attachments. That doesn't make us sinful, it makes us human. But what separates the ones who rise in the sight of Allah from those who fall deeper into desire is what we choose to do after we feel the attachment. Do you let it consume you? Do you let it lead you into quiet sins? Do you let it steal your identity and your peace? Or do you stop, reflect, and say, Ya Allah, if this is not written for me, remove it from my heart and do it gently. Because love, in itself, isn't wrong. But love that costs you your salah, your haya, your connection to Allah, that's not love. That's a distraction. That's a test you're being asked to walk away from. The Prophet Muhammad beautifully said, whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it with something better. Better doesn't always mean more attractive or more exciting. Sometimes better means someone who guards your soul, someone who reminds you of prayer, someone who doesn't just make you smile, they make you remember why you were created. So tonight, make a sincere dua, especially if these words reached your heart when you weren't even looking. Say, Ya Allah, if this connection is not written for me, remove it gently. Detach it from my heart and replace it with serenity. And when you send what is meant for me, let it lead me closer to you before it ever leads me to anyone else. And if this message spoke to your soul, take a moment to leave a comment below. Ya Allah, protect my heart from what's not meant for me, because your comment might be the reminder someone else needed, the sign they were begging Allah for. And remember, liking and subscribing may seem small, but it might be the reason someone finally lets go of a haram relationship and starts walking back toward peace, back toward purpose, and back toward their Lord. May Allah protect your heart, guide your feelings, and bless you with a love that begins in obedience and ends in Jannah. Ameen.